And although this week we've been talking about the joys of learning and of lifelong learning and learning something new, it actually led me to discussing extrapolation of all things. So, just to give you a little peek inside my brain, what I was thinking was it would be a fun, well, at least I thought it'd be fun, but I'm also a total math geek. So, okay. Now we put that disclaimer out there. But I thought it'd be really fun for the kids to just kind of, jot down how many new things they can learn in an hour and then use that to figure out how much they could learn in a day, in a week, in a year, et cetera, et cetera, which of course led me to extrapolation. And since I was having, I thought that the example that I thought of, um, might be a little difficult for the younger kids, and also sometimes you learn things without realizing you're learning something new. So I was like, it might be a little hard to track. It might be a little difficult to put into numbers, and they might not think it's quite as interesting as I do. I fully understand that. So that led me to, thinking, okay, well, we can talk about extrapolation, which um, they're learning. So there we go. They're learning something new. For some of the adults, they could be learning something new as well. This could be a fun activity to do together. And especially when you think of some of the things that can come off of this, the side effects, I guess, if you want to call them that. So let's get into it. What is extrapolation? Basically, extrapolation is a big word for taking something that you know and turning it into an estimate that you expect to be somewhat accurate. Now, what we're going to talk about is you're going to see in the examples is that a lot of times it is not. There's a lot of assumptions that are made when you're extrapolating that can affect the outcome. Now, in these examples, we're just going to look at very, very basic numbers. Now, if you were doing this, at a higher level, which your high school kids might be, the adults might be, you take other factors in consideration. So you might say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take this assumption but then I'm going to apply this other assumption to it. So, for example, if you wanted to talk about, the uh, height of a tree, you could say, okay, well, it grows this many inches in year one, potentially this many in year two, but at some point it's going to slow down and then stop growing. Or maybe even the length of your hair. You can say, okay, yes, over the course of 6 months it grows 2 inches. So using that, you'd be like, okay, well, at the end of the year it'd be growing a foot, but I know there's going to be some split ends. I know I'm going to need to go in for a trim, and so that's going to so it may not be quite a foot at the end of the year. So let's say that every 2 months it's growing, or let's say it grows an inch a month. We'll just make this super simple. It grows an inch a month, but every 3 months I'm going to go in for a trim that's going to take a half inch off. So then you can go ahead and, over the course of 3 months, you're going to be growing 2.5 inches net because you have 3 inches minus that half an inch of trim. And so over the course of a year, it's only going to be 10 inches longer instead of 12 inches longer. Does that hopefully kind of make sense? So in doing that, you're taking into consideration, some of the other things that are affecting how fast your hair grows. So I have a few examples that I put down over here that you can start with, but feel free, you can apply this to anything, which is what makes this so much fun. So in example one, I said, okay, you can eat a slice of pizza in 5 minutes. Now, chances are that first slice of pizza you can probably eat a whole lot faster, but I'm going to assume that are really enjoying every bite and chewing your 60 seconds per bite or whatever you're supposed to be doing, and just really enjoying it and savoring it. Okay, there's the first assumption, right? Um, but let's say you could eat a slice of pizza in 5 minutes. So how many slices could you eat in an hour? Well, that's pretty simple, right? You just there's one slice in 5 minutes. There are 60 minutes in an hour. 60 divided by 5 is 12, which means you could eat 12 slices in an hour. Now, you can take that and make it 24 hours, okay? And so we know that 12 slices an hour, well, we know 12 times 12 is 144, and so we could just double that, which means in 12 hours we eat 144 slices of pizza. And that'd be 288 slices of pizza in 24 hours. And then if you want to go even greater, you could say in a year it'd be 288 times 365, which I didn't even do the math on. I'll let you do it if you want to, but oh my gosh, makes me want to never eat another slice of pizza in my life. so, so you can see where this is going, and actually maybe next week we'll talk about um, uh, um, oh my gosh, that's been completely blank how it's called, but the basically the return. Oh my gosh, sorry, I just went completely blank. Anyways, we might talk about that one. The law of diminishing returns. That's what it is. Sorry, it's been a long time since I took econ. So, anyway, so that's the first example. Second example, I said you have a baby something. It could be a baby tree, which obviously is a sapling, a baby plant, a seedling, a baby human, which a baby, or whatever. But you have a little something, and you know it's going to grow. So you know it grows a certain number of inches in a month because chances are you're not going to, measure that baby every day. So let's just say you over the course of a month it grows an inch. So in that case, how tall would it be in a year? Well, you'd have to take the beginning number, however tall that thing is. So let's say it's a foot tall when you start the measuring process. At the end of a month, it's grown an inch. So that means that over the course of a year, it's going to grow 12 more inches, which means at the end of year one, it's going to be 2 feet tall. So how tall would it be in 10 years? Well, you would take that same inch, multiply it, an inch a month. So 1 inch times 12 equals 12, times 10 years equals 120. Add that to your beginning number, which was that 12 inches, which means that over the course, 10 years from now, that whatever it is going to be 132 inches tall, which isn't too bad if it only grows an inch, but we know a lot of things grow faster than that, depending on what it is. And so you can see where over time you could end up with 20-foot tall people, trees that are a mile into the sky. Once again, that's where we said this whole the science of extrapolation is not exact. So you do have to factor in there if you're at the higher levels, you would factor in the fact that things slow down or even stop growing after a certain amount of time. But once again, it could be fun, especially if you have younger kids, to think about a world where you could pull out their baby books and say, look, you grew this much, in the first year, and if you kept growing at that rate, how tall would you be now? And that is just basic extrapolation. Okay, hopefully this is starting to make a little bit of sense, especially if it's something you don't have a lot of experience with. So then example number 3 is you're driving an average of 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour, depending on where you're living in the world. And, how far would you drive in 10 hours in a week? You could actually, you could go out further than that, a year, 10 years over the course of your life. And so, so once again, that's something if you did 60 miles an hour, you would drive 600 miles in 10 hours, and then just keep, multiplying that out. So it could be 60 miles an hour times 24 miles a day, times 24 hours per day, times 7 days a week, times, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see how you can take that and take your average of 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour and extrapolate that over time. Now that is probably the most probable result, especially if you had somebody else to help drive, because obviously you're going to need to sleep at some point, and hopefully you're not doing that while you're going 60 miles an hour. And, also, another vehicle available in case this one breaks down, because we do know that over time, your vehicle only has so many miles or kilometers in it, and you don't know what that number is, but at one point your vehicle is going to hit that number, and that's going to be it. Or even just something as simple as a flat tire, or you need to stop and get an oil change, or. So there's so many things in there that you would need to take into consideration. But that is probably, like I said, the most realistic because, assuming you have ways to swap things out, um, you know, you could actually do that one as opposed to having, your trees that are, 20 miles high and your people running around who are, absolute giants and things like that. Um, so, but like I said, that also brings part of the fun of doing this is that, just looking at those what ifs, especially if you have younger kids and you're trying to, make learning fun for them. That's where it really, you can have a lot of fun with this. So, really, what this comes down to is it's a really fun way to practice multiplication and think creatively, and really put your imagination to work, because that can really lead to some very funny scenarios, which you could then turn around and turn into a writing assignment. Not that that's really what I do here, but if you were talking to your kids about some of these situations, you start off with this extrapolation scenario, and then you could have them write a little story about how the world would be or how their life would be if this was possible and this really happened. So it's a way to kind of pull it all together. So please let me know what you and the kids think about this exercise. And hi, Morgan. Um, I see you just jumped on, so you just missed the whole thing, so you have to catch the replay. So sorry. But please let me know what you and the kids think, and what are the ideas that you come up with. I'd love to hear it. So everyone have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here next week. Thanks. Bye bye.